Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. EFCC recovers 30 billion naira from Accountant General Idris. Rising food prices pushing inflation to 21.47%. Oyeyemi approves recruitment of primary school teachers. UK nurses go on strike over pay. Marketers begin petrol scarcity, high pump price. No, marketers behind petrol scarcity, high pump price, says Pengerson. Buhari, Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu, others warn Seriki. Biden praises Buhari for deepening democracy. And banks roll out new naira notes. Okay, let me start with the major headlines. So the EFCC, that's according to Abdul Rashid Bawa, that's the head of the EFCC, was saying yes, he was giving his ministerial briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Plan, and he was telling them that the investigation by the EFCC has led to the recovery of 30 billion naira from the Accountant General of the Federation, Hamed Idris. He was saying that over alleged 109 billion naira was laundered, and that the investigation so far has yielded quite a bit of results. He was going on to say that they also heard how the court also heard out 84.7 billion naira was taken from the $2.2 billion that was due to 9 oil-producing states and shared by some senior government officials. So he was just giving a scorecard on what the EFCC has done so far. He said in the past 7 months, they've been tracing some of this money and it has been recovered. He also defended the EFCC, saying that the anti-graft has the freedom to investigate, and they're quite independent. They have the freedom to investigate and suspend anyone that they feel he's been investigated. And they are also, and nobody tells them what to do or who to investigate. One of the last major investigations they did was arresting the Accountant General of the Federation, which was a big deal. We all heard about the 80 billion naira that was found with him. Okay.
Yes, so all workers under the auspices of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengerson, said yesterday that petrol marketers are behind the lingering product scarcity and the instability in the pump price. So they said they went ahead to accuse the marketers of trying to force an increase of the pump price of petrol above the threshold approved by the federal government. And we know that most of our filling stations there's been lots of queues. People are just trying to get that product. In some places, you get it as high as 300 naira per litre, while the federal government has pegged it between 165 to 169. And I think I took a part of the story yesterday where they were saying it wasn't easy for them to get this product, and most of the time they don't even have the product available, even though NNPC is saying that the product is available. So they are saying also that they've noticed that non-state actors are trying to dictate what is happening in this oil sector, and it's not working for them. So they went ahead to, give some form of recommendation, saying that the Nigerian Immigration and Custom must do well to ensure that smuggling across border is stopped, so that we have petrol being used for us, and also ensure that our, filling stations and NNPC equipment are updated in such a way that we will not have some of these issues, but that the strike that Ipman was trying to, talk about, probably they're going to lay down their tools for now and see how this plays out.
So I want to take the story. Good news for Nigerians in diaspora. We have a lot of them watching our show. The Federal Ministry of Interior and Nigerian Immigration Service have been putting together a process of easing passport challenges within the country. And one of what they've done is from the 12th of December to the 31st of January, Nigerians in diaspora whose passport has expired can come into the country with their expired passport. They said they've communicated this to all the international airports in Nigeria, and they've communicated to every airline that comes into Nigeria as well, and that they've told all the foreign, they've spoken through the Foreign Affairs Minister to all the countries where Nigeria has
embassy or...
Yes, embassy, that they should allow Nigerians with expired passports come in, and that when they get to Nigeria, they would have, there's a desk at every Nigerian international airport that allows them to come in, even with their expired passports, they can come in.
This should have been giving us since November, because people plan their holidays a month ahead.
Some people won't be able to come now because it's too late.
It's too soon.
If anybody still wants to come and their passport has expired, they can come between December and January to see their family.
Let's move on quickly now to banks. Run out of new naira and demand soars.
Ready.
Tanker fire rocks Oyo community, destroys properties. Seriki's death shocking. Buhari Tinubu Sanwo-Olu mourn. EFCC protest as Ekweremadu blames commission for detention. Tearful relatives, friends send Sami Okposu home. $407 billion naira debt. Adeleke vows probe. Oyetola's aide slams governor. Diaspora Nigerians to renew the passports on arrival. And inflation pushes 5 million into poverty. Wage value down 35%. Okay, let me start with the major headline again. So finally, the drum has been rolling, and then yesterday the CBN had put out the new naira notes to all the banks. And of course, across the country, lots of banks, especially in Lagos and Abuja, Punch went there to observe the disbursement of these naira notes. According to them, they had the 1,000 and I think 500 naira notes, but the 200 naira notes were yet to be available. And it said that most people had actually disbursed all the new naira notes before 12 noon yesterday. Wow. And if you recall, these new naira notes were specifically brought out to curb inflationary problems, currency counterfeiting, insecurity, and other issues plaguing Nigeria, and to also ensure that all the liquid cash in circulation comes into the bank. So that was the objective for these policies. But so far, some people are even rejecting to collect the naira notes because, according to them, traders are refusing to collect it as a legal tender, the new one. So they're a bit confused. They're not aware of the new naira. So some traders, so those who are in the market, so those in the market are still, they're not accepting it. So it's finding it difficult to accept it. So there still needs a lot of sensitization out there to the public that these are legal tenders going forward. And if you can get to the bank now, the banks don't have enough, but they have some, and you can actually get them to be swapped if you have more cash in the house.
I don't think we do enough, especially in those local areas. Most times they are clueless. So.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. BC had a story. Or Nima had a story. Go ahead.
The Osun Governor Adeleke and Governor Oyetola back and forth. So, again, Governor Adeleke was speaking with the traditional rulers at a meeting we called the Osun Traditional Rulers Meeting in Osogbo. He started talking about how much of debt he met again. He says that Governor Oyetola, ex-Governor Oyetola, before leaving office, took a loan of 18 billion naira in November, just before leaving office. And that the state is indebted to the tune of 407.32 billion. In this administration, he says that he met different facilities, apart from salaries and pension debts, that the 8 outstanding loan facilities that he met, and that I just feel that this is the narrative. Once another party takes over, rather than focus on governance, you start talking. You start talking. When you come out, you call out. If you spend the first 2 years calling out your past administration, as if government is not a continuum. Governance in Nigeria, all of them are taking loans. So let us know exactly, just a minute, that he took a loan. Did he siphon the money?
Or is it put in?
Can you trace that? Have you forwarded documents to EFCC so that they are probing the necessary thing? What EFCC as an agency faces their work while you face governance of Osun State. Don't post the future of Osun people telling us every day that Adeleke, Abeokuta did something.
One very sad story. A popular gospel singer and chief executive officer of Zama Entertainment, Sami Okposu, was buried yesterday in Lagos. He died on November 25th at the age of 51. And according to his manager, they said he slept and didn't wake up, which was different from the story we had online that he slumped and died. It was just a very painful experience for his family members. They had already organized, a get-together to show respect on Tuesday, but yesterday they had to finally lay him to rest. He's been one of the strongest voices in the gospel music industry, and everybody will miss him. We'll all miss him. May God bless his soul. Amen.
Yeah. Have you taken a story in Punch? Let's move on now.
Yes, I was going to take a story in Punch, please. Inflationary costs and the challenges that's brought up. So the statistics was given to explaining that inflation has pushed 5 million into poverty, and wage value down by 35%. That means that it's 100% of your salary can only get you 35% in terms of value in the market. A Washington-based bank was the one that released this new report about Nigeria and the fact that we're facing an economic challenge in performance that has weakened over the time. the institution said that the cut Nigeria's growth forecast, broke down the report on inflation, broke down the impact on the cost of living, and gave details as to the multiple challenges that Nigeria is facing locally and globally. So just something that we know.
Okay. Daily Sun, very quickly now, 2023 polls. EFCC probing prominent politicians, says Bawa. EFCC frustrated my bail application in London, says Ekweremadu. Check rising violence in our land, Archbishop Obinna tells Igbo. Federal government Kalu others mourn Demola Seriki, ex-Nigerian ambassador to Spain. Igbo to get presidency faster, voting for me, says Atiku. Protesters ground National Assembly as new naira notes go into circulation. Inflation rises again in November to 21.47%, says NBS. Okay, which story? Let me start with the Central Bank of Nigeria's cashless policy and currency redesign. So, protesters under the ages of patriotic Nigerians urged the lawmakers to ensure that they approve and accept these the new currency redesign from the initiative from the CBN. According to them, to stabilize the exchange rate and promote free and fair elections. If you recall, the National Assembly had called CBN governor to come and meet them, to speak to them and tell them exactly why this policy was needed at this time and to justify it. But unfortunately, the CBN governor said he wasn't out of the country, that he will be around next Tuesday, that's next Tuesday, to face the National Assembly. But these protesters are there saying that demand that the National Assembly must support the CBN because this is what is much needed. He said there is no gainsaying that criminals such as kidnappers, drug dealers, all thieves, and so many others mentioned always make use of cash to achieve their illicit goals. Therefore, this policy is what Nigeria needs, and all hands must be on deck to ensure all necessary support for the CBN. So, obviously, the CBN has quite a few supporters on this initiative, and hopefully the National Assembly are able to see reason. Okay.
According to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, inflation rate that was, rising upwards has just, stopped at 21.47% for November, as against the 21.09% in October.
Yeah.
And they said it's a year-on-year increase at 24.13%, adding that these increases are caused by prices of bread, cereal, oil and fat, potatoes, yam, and other tubers. And on a month-on-month basis is 1.40%. They said that, the average annual rate of food inflation for the 12 months ending this year over a previous 12 months in 2021 is even slightly dropped. So it's dropped by 0.21% as compared to last year.
Yeah, so the former Deputy Senate President, Ekweremadu, is blaming EFCC for his travails at the London courts. The senator is in custody over alleged organ harvesting. And he was telling the Abuja division of the Federal High Court that the EFCC wrote a letter to the London court which denied him bail. And, he had already filed for the court to set aside his forfeiture. So there's this forfeiture of 40 of his houses that's been ongoing, but the federal government won against him. So he is asked and telling the federal government now that EFCC wrote to the London court against him. They did not tell the London court that this matter has been in court since it's been under investigation since 2008, and he was in a London detention, so he didn't have the time to come back and, file against it, and so they just passed the judgment. So he's asking that they revisit it and move that forfeiture.
Since he wasn't around.
Yes, since he wasn't around.
Vanguard.
So, quick story.
In Son?
Yes, in Son. An upper Sharia court in Kano, presided over by Ibrahim Sariki Yola, yesterday sentenced an Islamic cleric to death by hanging. The Islamic cleric's name is Sheikh Abdul Jibbar Nasiru Kabara, and he was found guilty of blasphemy against the Prophet. And they said that the video recording his blasphemy statement circulated on social media, and they gave him enough time to defend himself, that this particular law is, according to section 382 and 375 of the Kano State Sharia Penal Code Law of 2000, he couldn't defend himself, even though he was given enough time, and so he's been sentenced to hanging, death by hanging.
Vanguard. FG states to spend 19.16 trillion naira on wages, pensions, others in 2023. Why a bath with blood? 49-year-old man tells Ogun Police. NDDC board legislators disagree over Onoche's nomination as court halt screening. Excitement as federal government opens second Niger bridge to traffic. Pengassin blames downstream operators for petrol shortages hike in prices. World Bank lowers Nigeria's growth projection to 3.1%. Okay, which story are we taking?
Nima, take that one.
Okay, so a 49-year-old man was found bathing somewhere with blood by people. So when he noticed that, people had recognized him, he decided to run away somewhere in Abeokuta. And when the people rounded him up and he was caught, taken to the police station, he confessed that he had spiritual problem. I was told by an herbalist to bathe with blood, and that the blood that he had in his hand was that of a cow.
Not human blood,
I hope that he says it's not human blood.
Please, let me quickly take.
I hope that is investigated. We are sure that he's not using.
You can easily test DNA and confirm if the blood is.
That's what I'm saying.
Please, I want to take Onoche's story. If you remember, Mrs. Onoche is a special assistant to our current president on new media, and is an indigene of Aniocha North local government.
Aniocha.
What did I say? Aniocha. Okay.
What she said
Aniocha.
now.
Local government in Delta State. Anyway, she was nominated. If you remember, they nominated her to be rec.
Yeah.
No, she was first nominated as a rec
For
INEC.
Yes.
She was rejected, and now she's been nominated as the chairman of the NDDC commission, as the chairman of the board of NDDC, and is also being debated, heavily debated at the federal lawmakers were debating it. Many people against, some are for. I really can't go through all the issues they had with it because it was plenty, but they say it's controversial.
All right, we have to run.
To be nominated.
Congratulations to those in the east. The second Niger bridge has been opened.
Yay!
Fantastic.
For
So
this
many
period.
commuters were so happy yesterday.
I go to the east for Christmas.
You can go to the east for Christmas now.